I'm going to start off this morning with a rhetorical question, and I think it's a pretty easy answer. You ever disappointed anybody? You ever disappointed anybody? Yeah, and the deal about disappointing someone, depending on the scale, if you really disappoint them, like in a large sense, it takes the fact, you have to think about this, that you really have to care about them and what they think of you in order to feel that shame or feel like, I disappointed them. They may be disappointed in you, but if you don't really care about them, there's no embarrassment, there's no shame, there's no attachment. But if you do love them, then you feel that hurt too. In fact, I will say that's worse to me when I was growing up. Those words, we are so disappointed in you, was worse than anything ever. You did something wrong, and my mom and dad, if it's a tag team, then it's really bad. Now, if they said, we're so disappointed in you, but only one of them's there, I always want to say, wait a minute. They're not even here. How do you know that we're disappointed in you? You got power of attorney going on there? What's the deal? Weird, but if they're both there, I would rather take the whipping. I'm like, Mom, oh no, Mom, please don't say it. I'll get the belt, the switch, the wooden spoon. I'll get the Hot Wheels orange racetrack, whatever it is. You can whip me, but don't say there it is. Oh, just open wound, salt in, give me the whipping. Disappointed. And I wonder, a lot of times the way we react to our own sins, if we think that God is disappointed in us. But I'm not sure that He is. I think we think He is. We want to feel like He is, but I'm not really sure that's the word I would put on it, is disappointed. And here's why. Let's go to Matthew. Matthew chapter 26. Most of you know this occasion. In fact, we read another version of this in our Bible class this morning upstairs, actually. And this is the time of Jesus' trial. He's about to be crucified, and as Peter had been told by Christ Himself, here's what's going to happen. When Peter so boldly said, Jesus, I will never leave you. I will never deny you. I will never... And of course, this happens. Now, Peter was sitting out in the courtyard, and a servant girl came to him. You also were with Jesus of Galilee, she said. But he denied it before them all. I don't know what you're talking about, he said. Then he went out to the gateway where another servant girl saw him and said to the people there, this fellow was with Jesus of Nazareth. And he denied it again with an oath. I don't know the man. After a little while, those standing there went up to Peter and said, surely you are one of them. Your accent gives you away. Then he began to call down curses, and he swore to them, I don't know the man. And immediately a rooster crowed. Then Peter remembered the word Jesus had spoken. Before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. And he went outside and wept bitterly. Now, was Jesus sad by what Peter had done? Of course he was. Did he hurt? Yes. In the action, in the moment, even though Jesus Himself had prophesied that this was going to take place, and He knew all things, and God knows all things are going to take place. In the moment, is He hurt? Yes. But the only disappointment that I think that God feels with us, that Jesus feels, is when we feel so badly, when we're so ashamed and embarrassed that we turn away, that we think God can't fix that. We're so dirty, so sinful that we think God can't fix it. And that to me is when God goes, no, you missed it. You missed it. You missed it. It's okay. I don't think God is disappointed in our sin. He knows we're going to sin. Does He hate it for us? Yes. He hates it that we hurt. He hates it that we do sin and we're separated from Him. And He hates what we've made of the world that He gave us, and that we struggle so mightily against the powers of Satan. But He knows we're going to sin. He's only disappointed, again, in my opinion, when we say, well, you can't fix it, God. You can't fix me. And God says, oh, I can too. See, God's never going to ask us to do what we can't do. All He says is, all you can do is all you can do. I'll take care of the rest. You just do what you can do. I got the rest. But when we say you can't fix, I think that's when He's disappointed. You know, it was probably been, I was trying to think again just this morning, and I should have gone down our hallways at school and looked to see what class he was in on our class composites, and I don't know, but about 25 years ago maybe, I was coaching freshman football, and we didn't have a lot of players back then, and I remember playing a certain week, and we had some kids hurt, and I had to shuffle some kids around, and I ended up playing a kid named Chip. Chip was not a lineman, okay, but I had to play him at offensive tackle, and he was kind of learning on the fly there, and we were playing a pretty tough team out east of here somewhere, and they were getting after us pretty good, and Chip was pretty much as you could predict. He was a skinny little kid, you know, it's about all we had anyway, and he's a skinny little kid, and he's getting his tail whipped. I mean, he's just getting, you know, bludgeoned, you know, and so, but as a coach, you always want to try to coach kids, not just to play the game, but also to learn to coach themselves in the action, so they can say, hey, this happens, or we need to do this, or we're running this play, this will work too, or we need to run this, whatever sport it is. You want them to get to a point of learning that they could coach themselves. And so we get to halftime, and I'm trying to do that with Chip, and we're talking as a team, we're trying to make adjustments. And again, I didn't have any, there's nobody to put in for him, but he was getting crushed. And I go, Chip, I said, hey, buddy, what's that big D tackle doing to you over there? What's he doing to you over there? And he goes, well, Coach, I don't know if you haven't been watching, but he's hitting me real hard. And I said, yeah, but I'm still thinking, come on, buddy. Remember the techniques we learned? I'm thinking that in my head, and I go, yeah, but I got that, Chip, but what else is he doing to you over there, son? He goes, Coach, again, have you not been watching? He's making like a lot of tackles. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But Chip, what is there? And thankfully, I had a great assistant. He kind of pulled him aside, and what I was trying to get him to was, look, if he's doing this, we can counter that. But again, I didn't have any subs. I couldn't take him out, you know, to even correct him. So we left him in, and again, thank goodness, had a great assistant, and that big D tackle was rushing him the second half. So we just let old Chip. I said, Chip, you don't have to block him, dude. That's what the assistant told him. We'll let him through, and we'll just trap him. So we ran the trap about 50 times the second half, I think, and just wore him out with the trap. He'd shoot through, and we'd pull somebody, and Chip felt like a hero. You know, it was like, whoa! I was like, how about that big D tackle? And he goes, yeah. You know, he didn't hit me near as much this half. You know, I ran away from him. But, you know, I was like, that's the way a trap works, son. You're the bait, you know, we're going. But I think sometimes that's the way God's doing. God's going, hey, what's Satan doing to you? He's hitting me real hard. And God's going, I know that, but what else is he doing? And he's doing this and what he's wanting. And I could see it in Chip's eyes. Take me out. Take me out of the game. If he could have taken himself out, he would have taken himself out of the game. I'm getting destroyed. Take me out. And God's going, no, you do what you can do. I'll take care of the rest. Stay in the game. Stay in the game. I know you feel like you're defeated, but you're not. You're not. I'll take care of the rest. And sometimes, again, I think we struggle with that. One of the missionaries we support, Murphy Crowson, that's in Rwanda, he tweeted this week. I took a screenshot of it. I loved it so much. He tweeted, it's a quote from C.S. Lewis. And I was studying on this the last several weeks, thinking about this lesson. And I saw this tweet, and I loved it. It says, the Christian does not think God will love us because we are good. I'm going to say that again. The Christian does not think God will love us because we are good, but that God will make us good because He loves us. God will make us good because He loves us. Yeah, He doesn't just accept us because we're good. He makes us good. And I think we don't measure up. And you don't understand. However much you've got, that's enough because God will make up the rest. And I think we don't think we're worthy. And to me, that's when God feels disappointment. I mentioned too, last month, I think, last month or two, about my Uncle Joe. I used to work at a youth camp in Texas every summer for my Uncle Joe. And one of the things we hosted before camp sessions began, before kids showed up and stuff, was a huge youth rally called Heart of Texas Youth Rally, the HOT, H-O-T, the HOT Youth Rally. And a couple thousand kids from all over Central and West Texas would come to our campground in late May, and we'd have a huge outdoor youth rally when the weather permitting. It usually was, and it was hot. It was an apropos name there. And one year, my uncle said, "Hey, we're going to have more kids than ever. We got some special people coming in. We're going to go down to a campground. Some brothers in Christ down outside of a small community. There was a county fair campground that had all these benches and chairs we were going to borrow for this huge youth rally." So we had borrowed these two huge tandem axle trailers, and somebody else had a box truck, and we head off down there to this little community, and it was a Czech community, a Czechoslovakian settlement. And we went down there, and good brothers and good Czech brothers came out there and met us, and we're loading up the trucks. And as usually would happen, we're heading back, and the box truck had some kind of trouble, and we had to stop. And we're working on it. While we're working on that, we're turning one of the tandem axle trailers around, and we dropped one of the wheels off in a hole and blowed a tire. So we'd blown a tire, and we had a bad truck, and we're sitting out there, and we got all these chairs and benches and got all this stuff, and we looked like the Clampetts, Beverly Hills, going to town. We had stuff stacked up everywhere, and we're sitting out under this tree, and my uncle was the best I ever saw at playing the object lesson game. You ever played that game where you hand somebody an object and go, "Hey, make a devotional out of that"? By the way, I'm really good at that game. We won't go into that. But anyway, he was really good at it. We're sitting under this live oak tree, sweating to death, waiting on some help and kind of sitting there wondering what we're going to do. And he looked around at this group, and I'd not really even thought about it. And I looked at the group of people, and this is kind of what I was getting to, that was there with us. And he goes, "Wonder what people passing by here thinks about this group of people." And I began to look around, and I go, I'm telling you, they think I can't even imagine what they're thinking, because I'm looking over there. Of course, it's my uncle and I. And then there, of course, not by looks, but there's a couple of those Czechoslovakian brothers there whose names you can't spell. Okay, that's a whole other deal, all right? They got 17 consonants and one vowel, but that you can't tell by looks. But anyway, all right, and they're sitting there with us. And then there was two Latino brothers that had come across earlier in their lives, had come across the border illegally from Mexico. My uncle had taken them in and taken them back. They had been converted to Christ, and it's a long story. And their families now lived in Texas, and they were all legal here and all this kind of stuff. And they were some of the best brothers in Christ I ever had. And they were actually from the little town, I remember this, of Delicias, Mexico. And my uncle used to drive them crazy. He goes, "Hey, these boys right here, they're from Delicious, Mexico." And he'd say that every time because he knew it made them mad. And Rosa, one of their wives, made the best tamales I've ever had in my life. The masa on that, I'm digressing. But anyway, we had the boys from Delicious, Mexico, and we had the two Czech boys. We had a Thai brother, a man from Thailand that had used to be a Buddhist, and the church that we worshiped at was supporting him. He'd become a Christian, and he was over getting some training. So we got a guy from Thailand there, Willie Franklin. Y'all remember Willie Franklin? He worked at Harding. He's a preacher down in Texas. Yeah, he played football. This is bad. You may not know this about Willie. Willie was born in Louisiana, but played football for the University of Oklahoma. Now, if it doesn't even get any bigger center than that, I don't know what. All right, from Louisiana, played for OU, but we were in Texas. And Willie was one of our speakers for the youth rally, so he was there helping us. And then there was two boys that were parolees. One of them had gotten out of the state penitentiary in Texas for trying to haul 50 pounds of marijuana in a spare tire. The problem was he was driving like a Plymouth Reliant, and he had like a tractor tire, all right, in the back of it. Okay, so he was a criminal, and he wasn't very smart either. So he was a parolee, he was out. And then there was another guy that was he belonged to some kind of gang, neo-Nazi gang. So think about it, wait a minute, you remember all those people that are sitting around here looking at this, and I remember my uncle saying, you know what, he said, "Look around there, look at this. It's the biggest pot of minestrone you've ever seen in your life. Look at these people." And he goes, "But you know what God sees? He just sees his children. He said, I wonder what people passing by here think. They think, they stole them chairs. That's what they're thinking. And probably that truck too. But God just sees his children. He said, none of that matters. Neo-Nazi gang, smuggling dope, came across the border, Buddhist. It didn't matter. None of that mattered. God says, that's not the requirement. You got a soul, then you meet the job requirement. I remember my uncle, he had 2 questions when he'd interview people that want to work at camp. 2 questions for a job interview. He'd say, what does it mean to you to be a Christian servant? Big question. And they'd kind of talk about it a little bit. And he goes, and can you clean a potty? That was it. He said, if you can find a Christian servant and you can clean a potty, especially one that you haven't been using yourself, he said, you can work here. Okay. Saying we'd hire people, we brought in all kinds of folks work there at camp. I think Jesus himself, speaking of job interviews, has 1 question. My uncle had 2. I think Jesus had 1. 1. Remember after Peter denies Jesus and the crucifixion takes place and Jesus is risen from the dead, over in John chapter 21. We don't have a slide for this. I'm going to paraphrase it, but you need to go read this. John 21. The disciples are out fishing on the Sea of Galilee, which a lot of them were fishermen by trade anyway, and they're out fishing, and Jesus comes up on the shore, and Jesus hollers out at them and says, hey, have you caught anything? And they catch a big miraculous catch of fish, and Peter's so excited. Remember, this is the guy that denied him now. He's so excited, he does a Forrest Gump right off the boat and swims to shore, right? And they cook the fish, and they're kind of sitting around having breakfast with Jesus. And this is the conversation that many of you know that Jesus asked Peter, do you love me? Now, you can do a huge study of that, and I wish you would. Go read it. And then you need to also get on the Google and Google up the Greek words for love that Jesus uses there. It's a beautiful study if you've never done that, because there's different forms of Greek for the word love in Greek. We don't do a very good job in English. That's a different study, agape and phileo. And Jesus is actually asking Peter different questions. But it basically, in our language, boils down to this. He says, hey, Peter, here's this job interview. If you want to be a disciple of Jesus, this is the job interview. Hey, Peter, I love you. Do you love me? Yes, Lord. Peter, I want to make sure. I love you. Do you love me? Well, Lord, I've sinned a lot, and I've turned my back on you, and I denied you, and I'm ashamed. He goes, Peter, I love you still. I still love you. Do you love me? Oh, Lord, you still know all the things I've done. I mean, I've done this, and I'm dirty, and I'm disgusting, and I'm sinful, and I'm not a good advocate for you, and I've not taught people, and Jesus says, I love you. I still love you. Do you love me? That's the only question Jesus is asking you. That is the job interview right there. Do you love me? Do you love me? That's all he's asking. He doesn't care where you've been. Doesn't care what you've done. He said, that doesn't matter. All you can do is all you can do. I'll make up the rest. Do you love me? Then you're hired. If you say yes, you've got the job. You can be a disciple of Jesus. And he said, and now, here's what we're going to do together. It's probably been a year since I've given you some casting crowns, so I figured as good a time as any. Can't hardly go without my casting crowns on occasion. Who am I that the Lord of all the earth would care to know my name, would care to feel my hurt? Who am I that the bright and morning star would choose to light the way for my ever-wandering heart? Who am I that the eyes that see my sin would look on me with love and watch me rise again? Who am I that the voice that calmed the sea would call out through the rain and calm the storm in me? Not because of who I am, but because of what you've done. Not because of what I've done, but because of who you are. I'm a flower quickly fading, here today and gone tomorrow. A wave tossed on the ocean, a vapor in the wind. Still, you hear me when I'm calling. Lord, you catch me when I am falling. And you've told me who I am. I am yours. I am yours. He said, he's like, I'll tell you who you are. You belong to me. I don't care what you've done. Don't take yourself out. Stay in. Stay in. I'm not disappointed in you. I love you. Do you love me? You know, it's interesting. After Jesus has the conversation with Peter, he said, Peter, do you love me? Peter, do you love me? I mean, do you really love me? And Peter's almost, he's like frustrated. He's like, yes, Lord, I love you. He says, okay, you got the job. And then he tells him two more words. Follow me. That's all he's going to say to you. Do you love me? Then follow me. I'll show you the rest. I'll give you the job description. I'll show you where we're going. I'll show you the goal. But if you love me, follow me. I know there's some people here this morning that want to take that job interview. They want to hear Jesus say, do you love me? And Jesus say, then follow me. Because you've never done it. You've never followed Jesus. You've thought about it. You've talked about it. You may even prayed on it. You may even read about it. But you've never followed Jesus. You've never emulated Him through baptism. You've never confessed His name. And all He's saying is, hey, do you love me? Then follow me. There's also some people here that have taken themselves out of the game. They think God is so disappointed in them that they cannot contribute to His cause anymore. And God's saying, all you can do is all you can do. I'll do the rest. Get back in the game. Just follow me. Re-follow me. God's not disappointed in you. He loves you, and all He wants you to do is follow Him. Follow Him. Follow Him.